Hi friends! Welcome to the Overcomers, a movement and a group of people who have overcome and they've got a story. That's what the Overcomers is all about. You sharing your story. Why? Because there is power in your story and people need you. They need your voice. They need your story of hope, faith, and inspiration that where they're at right now is not the end. They need to know if you can overcome, so can they. Today, I'm excited to share with you another story of one such overcomer. So let's go check out who it is. I'm honored to be here today with my friend, Audaci Greiner. Audaci, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you, Jen, for having me. I appreciate it.
So a few things about my incredible friend Audaci, in case you haven't met her, like I have had the honor and pleasure of getting to know her. She is a mom of 4 boys, a businesswoman and entrepreneur joining us from San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah.
She's overcome a lot in life, once being in a place where she felt 100% controlled. She lived in fear and constant terror of being abused and manipulated by a narcissistic abuser. Mm-hmm. Now she is free. She escaped her abuser and has gained so much wisdom in the journey. But not only is she free, she is truly living again, loving life and loving on others. But what I'm blown away most by with you, Audaci, is your resiliency and your authenticity. There's no question that you've been through so much suffering, but in your overcoming and continued journey of healing, you didn't stop. You chose to continue beyond not only a return of your wholeness and who you once were, but you're going so much further beyond that. You found a new fire that just blazes out of you. And it's not just for your own future and your benefit. It's also for those who are fortunate enough to simply spend time with you. And when they do, they quickly find out not only how real you are, but how much you truly care and believe in them too. Your heart is so huge. You haven't let what tried to take you out take you out. You've come back stronger than ever. And that is why I am so excited to have you on the Overcomers with us today and to share your story of how you went from that place of being so trapped to where you are now, so free and so much further beyond that. Take us on that journey. Take us back to who you once were.
Yeah. Well, I feel honored in everything you just shared. That touches me deeply. Thank you very much. I now received that. Thank you. So my past experience is with I would say, psychopath narcissist. And unless you have lived with someone like that, you don't fully understand. So I think to make it simple would be to say with someone that's extremely toxic. We met and things went really fast. I thought I had met my soulmate. I wasn't even sure if I believed in soulmates, but I'll tell you what, I've never met someone where you just hit it off and you feel like you're on the same page and they want what you want and they just kind of fill in all the gaps and spaces that you have been longing for in partnership. Another word for that I've learned through studying a lot about dealing with toxic people is the love bombing. So when you have someone that's love bombing you, it brings about such a high because there's such a chemistry. It's almost euphoric. It's almost like you met your other half because everything you love, they love. Everything you want, they want. And the support that I longed for, the someone cheering me on, like he was it. So we met, got married super fast. Because why wait if you found your soulmate, right? Like, my gosh, they want to do the same thing you're doing. And he loved my boys. He loved my parents. Great laughter, very affectionate. jovial, extremely smart, strong, just a lot of things that I was drawn to him. The things that I weren't good at, he was good at and would help me. And we had a freaking blast together. So this happened within about a total of 7 months. Well, we met, got married fast, married for 6 months. And right off the bat, things began to change. And I was like, what did I just do? Yeah. So lessons I've learned along the way: one, take your time to get married. Secondly, surround people to get to know that person, because when you're going into all of that, you're scared, like you're not seeing clearly. And especially when you have someone that is a predator and they are grooming you and they are luring you in, and they know how they figured you out by asking you questions, and you've said, here's my cards, and they're playing them one by one. So it's been quite a learning journey.
So what happened basically after you got married? Like, what changed?
So we got married and I moved in to his place, which was an hour and a half away from where my house was. It was an adorable, cute town, like out of a Hallmark movie. And I absolutely loved the area. And I didn't have any friends. So I left my family. I left my best friends. My business, I ended up scaling down to 2 full days a week. So I would leave early Wednesday morning, drive an hour and a half, do clients all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, and then drive back to him. So I really didn't have time to see friends or even like visit my parents much, because it was condensed work and then back. And he worked from home. So I was like, this is great. He works from home. I bust my butt for 2 days. I come back, and then doing other work from the home and just being able to be a wife. And his daughter was living with him at the time. I totally loved her and adored her, and I still do. There's currently no contact. And I have 4 boys. So I'm like, this is great. I'm not trying to be your mom, but to have a daughter and just love on her and be that support system was exciting. So what happened is the isolation. We did everything together as a family, from grocery shopping to filling the cars up. There was no alone time. Not that, well, he's a quality time person. He just wants to spend time with me. He loves me so much. And that's not what was going on. It was control. It was isolation. It was being monitored. Even down to where my business, he would strategically set things up to where I couldn't go. You know, the weather's going to be bad. I don't want you to drive. And really the weather was going to be fine. So involving my dad in the process. And then my dad's like, no, don't go. From hiding my purse and keys where I couldn't leave. And it was all about, well, I love you and I want you here with me. And then things escalated. It's like switching moods super fast. So what happens when you're in an abusive situation many times is they're really good at it. They love on you. Maybe they're cooking for you, rubbing your feet, making you feel special and loved. And then they just switch. And you're like, out of nowhere, I'm falling out of love with you. I want to divorce you. And here we're not even but a few weeks married. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I'm so confused. So there was a lot of instances where things were fine, and then he would just completely flip. And then I'm left spinning, trying to figure out, is it me? Is it him? What's going on? So you have a word, I wrote it down over here, cognitive dissonance. So when you're having an experience happening to you that's happening fast, or they seem to be nice and then they're ruthlessly mean, you go into thinking 2 things at once. And when you have people that are more compassionate, and the word now is like empaths, you tend to look at, well, he's just hurting, or this is from his past situation that he's carrying into me. So I make the decision to belittle the situation, and it's really not that big a deal. And when that happens over and over again, you dismiss the abuse. No matter what it is. The other thing is there's all kinds of abuse. I think when people think abuse, they think physical. Are they hitting you? Are they slapping you? And, I wrote down some stuff here because you have a lot of abuse. There's all kinds of abuse. There's the emotional, psychological, which to me was the worst because you feel like you're going crazy. You're just trying to figure out what's going on because of the high manipulation and guilt trips. And some things are very subtle and it's difficult to pick up on it, especially when you're by yourself and you've been isolated. You have spiritual abuse where they might use the Bible like, well, there was a lot of pressure for me to get pregnant. And I had just been raising 4 boys on my own, newly empty nester in the sense of my 2 younger had just moved in with their dad. I mean, I had been busting my butt for 11 years, raising my boys. I'm tired and I'm in my mid 40s. I'm done. This shop is closed. So a lot of pressure to get pregnant and then not willing to get pregnant. So the Bible's used on me. Are you not trusting God? I had a dream that we're having children. You're supposed to submit to your husband. Don't you love me? And there's a lot more that ended up tying over to sexual abuse, which I'm not going to go into, but sexual abuse could be seemingly mild. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're throwing you on the bed and just having their way. Like there is other things of manipulation and control in that area. So the physical is not the only thing. There is a lot of the financial abuse, the coercing me to pay for more things than I was actually in a position to do when he really was in a position. So then by the time I left the relationship, I had nothing. So there's a financial abuse. So whether they want you to work all the time and utilize the money that you're making, or they want to keep you at home not to work so that you're completely dependent on them and you can't buy things unless they approve. So those are also examples of financial abuse. The other thing about children is so much has come to surface of processing like what happened and why, and a lot of things I've had to realize I'm not going to exert the energy to figure out why, because when you're dealing with someone that's toxic like this, a lot of things don't make sense. They really don't even add up. And that's part of the crazy making. You're like, I just don't get it. Well, they're not healthy. They really have some major deficiencies and they're detached. There's no empathy. They can cry and look like they get you and have empathy, but it's not there. It is not there. So the childbearing part, what that is really about is the control. Because if I had a child with him, then I can be controlled all the more. And I'm seeing that so often with women, with the children, because when they go to leave, what are they using as pawns? The children. And so the women are staying because of the children. And it's another tool for control.
Wow. So how did you start to navigate, as you start to see all of these situations escalate and you are trying to deal with what is going on? Like, how did you start to navigate through that?
I'll tell you, starting out, I wasn't telling anybody that stuff was weird. Like, I think I had one friend that I was like, this happened. I don't know if it's me or him. Like, this is his past. So, which a lot of that was a lie, come to find out. So I was wanting to be that patient, supportive wife, right? And I started researching during my drive, an hour and a half back and forth. I started looking up audiobooks. I'm like, well, I can't buy a book and have it in the house because he'll see it. So I started looking up narcissist stuff or abuse. Like I would put phrases in, read the reviews, download it. And so when I went on my walks, that was the only time I was alone, when I went on walks and when I was driving back and forth to work, which was just there one day and back one day. So I started pounding it. The other thing I did was I prayed a lot and I asked the Holy Spirit, what am I to do? What is going on here? The confusion was overwhelming. And I contacted a women's abuse center so I could start documenting things, because I was starting to wonder if he was going to escalate and I wasn't going to be around because things were escalating fast. I also hired a coach. I woke up one morning, I saw the coach and I was like, okay, so I reached out to her and he did not want me to do that. It was a lot of money, which I took care of that. Had someone actually sponsor me to do it because I didn't have the funds. It was a major investment, and I'm so glad I did, because I was doing it to get help for me, but he felt threatened. And she's the one that said, "Hey, I want you to start documenting everything."
Mm.
And I kind of started to do that. So I had notes in my phone, and then I had it locked because when I would sleep, he would go through everything in my phone. There was no privacy. I had nothing to hide, and it's still my phone. So I started documenting everything. So I was positioning myself to educate myself and how to handle him when things were shifting, moving, unstable. Like I was in the process of having second keys made. I had an escape plan. It was really escalating. Um, you don't know what you don't know, right? So when you're reading something or listening to something and you're tying it to your life, it's like, yes, that's happening. Okay, that makes sense. So that kind of gave me some context to realize this is getting very scary and it's escalating.
Mm.
So when I was having my next session, I was to email to her the list that I had been having together of what had been going on, like the 2 weeks previous. I emailed it accidentally to her and her husband. And I was like, oh, because there was some stuff in there that, I'd rather it just be for her. But I'm so glad because they both jumped on it. And
Mm.
she sent me a sheet, through text. And she said, I need you to stop and check off what applies to him. I had no idea. Like, I'm in the middle of moving because we're moving back to my place. And she's like, I need you to do this. So I paused, I checked it off and sent it back. And then she said, I need to talk to you right now. Like, I'm like packing stuff up. She's like, right now. And she's not like that. So I said, hey, I'm going to go on a quick walk, get a breather, and I'll be back. I'm going to be talking to my coach. He was pissed.
Mm.
So I took the call, and she said, he is escalating really fast. He knows that you're onto him, and we're concerned about your safety. He is a psychopath. And I'm like, what? And I remember being against a brick wall outside, and I slid down the wall, and I was like, I was in shock because I knew it was getting bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. So I'm like, I can't leave right now. We're literally moving back to my place in 2 days. I'm not leaving. And she said, I will pay to fly you here to Arizona and house you in my guest house if I need to. And she's
Mm.
a calm, chill, professional person. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get home and then we'll see what happens. So I get home and he's off. Like I can tell, like I'm trying to act normal, but he is picking up on something. Little did I know he had access to all of my stuff, everything you could think of, all of my emails, all of my social media. Like he's a tech genius. Like that's what he does partly for a living. And he was able to get into everything. So he was escalating because he knew I was in communication and the truth was coming out and being exposed to others. And one thing they do not like is that mask to come off. They don't want people to know who they really are because they've been hiding their whole life. They've been fake their whole life. And they mirror the person that they're with, and the next one, they mirror them. So it's not even a real them.
Mm.
So we moved back to my place, and my coach had suggested, she's like, I really think you should consider separating because you're not seeing clearly. So one day I was praying and I'm like, I can't see. I know something's off. I know it's escalating, but I just can't see. And when you're in it, there's so much spiritual stuff going on. There is so much swirling going on that they are creating, and your heart's involved. And I'm a fighter, like I'm a lover and I'm a fight for something. And it was just starting to get really scary. So we had just moved back. It'd been like a couple days, and he went off. And I locked myself in the bathroom, and I'm like, oh God, this is it. And I knew it was time. So I had already separated where my keys were, where my purse was. I already had a bag that was starting to pack because I felt it coming that I was going to need to like get out. And with these kind of people, you don't just leave. Like I couldn't even get with my friends. You know, I would get ready to go out, and then he would create a huge argument, and then you wouldn't go. Or if I happened to go out, then it was guilt trips. And yeah. So I text one of my best friends who was basically across the street and said, "Hey, things are getting bad. I'm taking off to your house when he is in the other room again." So I just went the back way, ran to her house. He didn't know where I was. And that was the beginning of the separation. Um, and backing up a little bit, you know, we're also dealing with someone that was currently totally faking cancer as well. So you're
Wow.
newly married. He tells you he has cancer. He's telling you he wants to divorce you. He's suicidal off and on. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And I'm not allowed to tell anybody that he has cancer. And he won't allow me to go to the doctor with him or read a letter explaining the cancer. So all of this is, and I'm like, why would somebody? So I came to that because I prayed and I said, something feels off. And what I heard was, he's lying. And
Mm.
the Lord showed me once again exactly how to deal with that. Exactly how to deal with that. And, you know, you can be led by the Spirit. You can be, God will lead you and lead you to the right people. And I just, you know, you can be in a horrible situation and scared and knowing that things are escalating. And when a woman starts to leave or he feels that, that's when people get killed. When you have someone that is very controlling and psychopath, and like you really need to be wise in how you do that and surround yourself. Um, so I had my dear pastor friend involved with me to go in person to say I'm separating for 10 days to get clarity. I
Mm.
also wrote it on an index card exactly what was taking place, so there was no question. Zero contact for 10 days, and then I hid, just had a bag. I left everything in my home where he now was and all his stuff, and I'm like, I don't care if all my stuff gets destroyed. I don't care what happens. I'm out. And within that 10 period of time, I began to get clarity. The spinning slowed down. The dust started to settle. And I'm like, this is serious.
Mm.
I also reached out to his ex-wife, which I had no relationship with. And we are super duper close now. Crazy story. And I messaged her and I said, I need your help. Can I please talk to you? And she said, yeah, I'm available right now. And I said, I don't care what you did or did not do in the marriage. I just want to know what I'm dealing with.
Mm.
And she goes, oh, I can tell you what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a psychopath and you're not safe. I had a premonition 2 weeks ago and I was really hoping you would call me. And she said, here's my story. And she had gone through all the same stuff to where he had threatened and there was a gun involved and she was choked out. So it's like, this was not just, so for him to escalate within 6 months, and we have been supporting each other. I've been out of it for about 18 months now. A lot of times I start to feel normal and then I'll have a trigger. And I'm like, okay. So he ended up moving out of my house. I asked him to please leave. I realized that it wasn't going to work. And when you're really dealing with someone like this, they don't just change. So those people that are like, oh, he's going to change, it's going to get better. Can God do anything? Absolutely. Then allow him to change from a distance. Wait for the actions. The words don't mean anything.
Mm.
You know, so and I think too, for me being married, this is my second marriage, that I had to come to terms with quickly is my pride is not worth it.
Mm.
Because why would I stay in something that is not safe for me, that is damaging on all levels? And I got to make that decision quick, and I'm thankful, because that's not my first marriage. I fought tooth and nail from day one.
Mm.
12 years. There were great times, there were difficult times, and I don't give up. I love hard. And sometimes you make a mistake and there's a lesson to be learned, and you go, okay, I get to swallow this one. And oh my gosh, look how much I understand now.
Mm.
And now I get to work through the pain and be honest, where was my part in it? and go now into the new dating realm. You know, I took a year off just healing and go, okay, I get to take a deep breath. Holy Spirit, lead me, guide me. What is this person's intentions? Not giving all of my cards, not answering all their questions, you know. So it's a whole new journey of starting over and realizing that I now have a lot more tools in my tool belt. I have had a lot of opportunities to love on women that have just gotten out of a very bad abusive relationship, or they're currently trying to get out. And it's sad because they want out and they know they can't just leave. And it's very serious. And the woman needs to want to leave. So when I left and I said, that's it, I knew that it took an average of 7 times for a person to really stay gone. So people tend to leave and they go back, and they leave and they go back. And a lot of times when you're dealing with someone like this, they get killed because they're nice to them, and then the abuse gets worse every time they return. So I told myself, one and done. On his contact, I put lesson learned, one and done. So anytime he called me, anytime I thought of him, or the notes I was taking under processing thing was lesson learned, one and done. So that day on, did not answer phone calls, did not answer text, did not answer emails. I mean, he called the police on me. My neighborhood was turned against me. I lost clients. Like, they go in and destroy you. I almost lost a trip that I had worked my butt off to earn because he sent in a lie. Like, I'm not one to say that people are evil, but I saw evil. Not that it's him, but it's operating through him. And there was no relenting. And I got to go, that's okay. I'm going to walk this out. You can take all my stuff. You can lie to my clients. You can turn my neighborhood against me because I wasn't there for a while. I'm okay with that. And I got to practice my posture internally, my posture on the outside. And I'm like, I am good. I am confident. I am walking in truth. The Father is with me. So there was a whole nother level of definitely walking things out. So fast forward 18 months later, I traveled around to different places, kind of like a gypsy for about a year, worked at different things, was getting a lot of healing, rest, eating good, sleeping, having body work done on me, a lot of prayer, a lot of journaling. I took categories of the different abuses, and underneath each one would just write out what took place, what was the truth, what did I learn? So to be able to process, because your brain just gets stuck because you're in trauma.
Yeah.
You know, PTSD. Every time I saw a certain colored truck, I'm like, it's him. He's following me again. He's stalking me again. You know, so fast forward, doing the work diligently, talking to people that you trust, not allowing yourself to go in victim mode, but thriver, you know, not even survivor. I don't even really like surviving. It's like, no, I'm thriving. Like, I am a completely different version of myself now than I was before. Like, this girl, Audaci, will never be the same. I will never be that girl. And part of me grieves that. Part of me grieves the innocence and how much I loved and believed in people. That girl's gone. However, can I still trust? Yes. And I get to trust myself more, knowing that I'm going to feel, believing that I'm going to feel when something's off, knowing that no means no, and that I choose to respect myself, which I did walk that out. I believe that's why it ended so quickly, because I'm like, we're not doing this. So educating yourself, getting some audiobooks. There's Facebook groups out there that help you understand you're not alone, and that people will give examples. This is what's going on. And then for me, that season's over. I'm hardly on those Facebook groups. I'm not reading those books right now, because now that I have wrapped my mind around it, that I wasn't crazy, you feel like you're going crazy, that now it's the healing. How am I retraining my brain? How am I responding when I'm on a date and they give me this little miniature donkey? I love animals. This happened not long ago. It's like our second, third date. He knows I love animals. He brings his little miniature donkey. I'm like, that's so cute. And I get in the truck to leave. And I get home and I leave in the truck and I'm trying to go to bed. And I remember that little donkey's in the truck. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's probably tracking me. He probably wants to figure out where I live. I went through this whole dialogue of craziness because of past being tracked and monitored and having a predator at all times around you. And I got to process through that. Okay, if there's a tracker in it, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to go to sleep? Are you going to go outside in the middle of the night and burn it? And I said, okay, Lord, am I good? And I felt good. So I shelved it. The next day I'm on an errand, driving around, looking at the donkey. I get at the red light. I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, I wonder, is that seam crooked? Did he cut it open, stick something in there? Like, hello, I don't think like this. That's past trauma. And you get to decide what to do with it. So I still have the donkey, not seeing the guy anymore, but can people do that? Yes, they can track you. But the things, the triggers that come to you even later, certain smells, certain trucks, certain verbiage. I mean, the whole dating is completely different now because of that. And I have opportunities to work through that. So
Friend.
I
Wow.
know where I am right now.
Yeah, you do. And it's amazing to watch. I know like everything that everyone is getting to witness right now of how strong you are, about who you are and how you've navigated all of this is a night and day difference, like you said, of where you once were. And
Yeah.
I was going to ask you this question, but I think you answered it is, how do you start to heal from something like this? And you said it yourself, listening to the Father's voice in so many instances to help you continue to navigate so many scenarios and so many mindsets and beliefs that you had coming out of this kind of trauma.
Yes.
And you
And so,
were not passive about your healing. You've been very
no,
intentional about
yes.
seeking out all kinds of help and training for dealing with the stuff that you were still dealing with and are still dealing with. And so I want to ask you a very specific question because you've been so amazing at really being vulnerable and transparent with what you've walked through. And I know there's going to be people listening to this interview far long from now that will have related to where you once were. Maybe they're in a relationship right now like that, and they're feeling stuck, they're feeling trapped, and they themselves are feeling confused with everything that is going on. What one piece of advice would you tell that woman right now?
You get to choose you. You get to choose you. And if you're feeling guilty often and you're feeling like something's off, then explore it. Don't just shove it down and dismiss it, because often we're dismissed. Our feelings are dismissed. We're told that we're not feeling the way we feel. I choose me. I choose to love myself so that I can love others, because I really want to help others and love on them. But guess what? It starts with me. And it affects your whole family, your children, everything. So you get to choose you and surround people that be surrounded people that are healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You are worthy. You are valuable. You are precious, and you deserve to be treated like that and truly loved. Yes.
So good. Well, Kim, thank you so much for taking time out of your day today to jump on the Overcomers with us and really paint the story of how important it is to be aware of relationships like this, but also the hope that there is if you are stuck in one and you're feeling trapped in one, that there is hope for you and you can overcome the situation that you're in right now. And you can get to a place like Audaci is at right now, where she is so much farther than where she once was, in a place of so much more healing, and also at a place where she can give back to women who are currently in
Which is
that
the
place.
best. That's the most exciting thing to me. Like, it's never in vain, and it's never just about me, right? Like, wow, I have amazing things to give people: love, compassion, support, because I get it. So I'm excited about that. Turn them lemons into lemonade, girlfriend.
Yes. You are by definition what it means to be an overcomer friend. And as your friend, have really admired who you are and getting to know you and spend time with you and everything that you witnessed on this interview today. If you're listening, this is the authentic Audaci, and this is really her heart. She really does care about people, and I can vouch for that as her friend. So, thank you again, Audaci, for taking time out of your day today and for joining us on The Overcomers. If you are listening and you are in that place, don't hesitate to reach out to us at The Overcomers or to reach out to Audaci herself. We'll make sure to put her contact and a way to get in connection with her on the interview. But yes, just thank you again for joining us, friend. You're amazing.
Thank you so much.
Wow, wasn't that powerful? Do you have an overcomer story? Do you know someone who needs to hear this message? Please share this video on your social platforms and tag us so we know who you are. Stay tuned as we share more overcomer stories in the weeks ahead. We're looking for you. We're looking for the overcomers. Join us. Let's come together as the overcomers. Start sharing your story. We have multiple ways you can start getting involved and repping the movement, repping your story of what he has done in your life. And last but not least, if you want to learn how to overcome, visit www.dannyjohnson.com. That's my coach, and that's where I learned how to overcome. Thank you so much for joining with us today. We believe in you, and we believe in the power of story. We believe in your story.